Okay, so I may be a little bit late to the party, but I actually only just got around to watching Power Rangers Once and Always. This was mainly down to the fact that I had promised my Batcave that I would watch it with them as part of the Watch Party tier award. But now that we've seen it, and so many people have been asking my opinions, it's time that we talk about it. Now, in terms of the storyline, there's only really one major plot point, so if you haven't seen Once and Always yet, firstly, I don't know why you're watching this, but either way, spoiler alert. The main plot point is that Trini dies. Obviously, Thuy Trang passed away in 2001, but canonically, Trini is still alive, or at least she was, until now. A robot version of Rita Repulsa has emerged when her essence was accidentally restored by Billy, which I'll come back to in a minute because this has a few implications. But then she kills Trini, but doesn't destroy her powers. The main storyline is about her daughter, Min, becoming the new Yellow Ranger. Zack took on the responsibility of raising Min after leaving his job as a senator, which sounds a bit odd at first, but is actually a nice throwback to Zack leaving to attend a peace conference to help lay out a new career path, which obviously led to the handover of his powers to Adam. Originally, Trini was closest to Billy, but seeing as she left with Zack and Jason, but then Jason returned during the Zeo era, it would make sense that Zack and Trini would have gotten closer if they'd stayed in Sweden together, for example. I mean, it's not mentioned who Min's dad is, but we're not meant to think that it's Zack, it's some unknown guy who is completely out of the picture. Now, this was made before the death of Jason David Frank, so even though this special is a big tribute to Thuy Trang and Trini, Tommy doesn't get the same treatment. There is a memoriam at the end, but that was presumably added at the last minute, as he was still alive during the production. He supposedly turned it down as he was focusing on Legend of the White Dragon, so he doesn't appear here. Although they do use past bits of his voice, and there is a Green Ranger, it's just that we don't see Tommy himself. Amy Jo Johnson doesn't appear either because, well, a lot of reasons were stated, but I'm fairly sure it came down to money. And Austin St. John couldn't appear because filming took place in New Zealand and he wasn't allowed to leave the country due to his indictment for fraud allegations. As such, the Green, Red and Pink Rangers are captured by Rita fairly early on, with Rocky returning as the Red Ranger and Kat as the Pink Ranger. The original power coins are once again duplicated with the creation of proxy coins, but a little more simply than the first time around. In the original show, Rocky had a duplicate of Jason's original coin, but Kat was later given the Crane power coin, not the Pterodactyl coin. Adam and Aisha also appear, but as members of Space Patrol Alpha. This is more important from Aisha's point of view because it means that it allows the passing of the torch to Min as the new true Yellow Ranger, and gives Aisha a new role in the Power Rangers universe, as Adam already has several. Now, let's just talk about some of the details that have been used to bring this version of Power Rangers back to life. There's not much point going into too much detail about how the Rangers got their powers back. I don't really have any issues with the fact that all of the original Rangers have their powers. We could split hairs, but I think it's clear enough. Billy has obviously now returned from Aquitar and has been on Earth for some time. We don't really know why, but clearly he recovered from his aging condition, and I guess things didn't quite work out with Cestria. He is presumably now a multi-billionaire, which he should be, being the genius that he is. After all, I mentioned in one of my videos that he should be rich, and he has recreated the command centre in a hidden division of his company. However, it's arguably his fault that Trini dies because he brought Rita back in her robot form, as her scattered essence was reformed by Billy's technology in his efforts to bring back Zordon. But even so, this is great because I told you all that Zordon can't actually be dead. It's not quite the way I would have gone with it because it's a little bit ambiguous what happened to him, and I go a different way in The Lost Power, but I very much approve of Rich Billy searching for the real Zordon. If you've read the early briefs for The Lost Power, you'll know why. But the best thing about this special isn't really the story or the new canon, it's the sheer amount of Easter eggs that are dotted throughout the film. Let's go through some of them because some of them are quite obscure. You can tell that whoever made this is a proper fan, and I don't even know if I spotted them all. Firstly, there's a headstone that is destroyed in the same graveyard as Trini. The name on it is Harvey Garvey. Now, this was a presenter that only appeared in one episode of season 2, so why on earth include him? Well, because the actor was also the voice of Ninja, an important character in the lore of season 3. After the fight with Rita's minions, Billy, Zack and Min escape in the Rad Bug 2, a new version of the original Rad Bug from the first season that also has a Zyuranger counterpart. With Tommy, Kimberly and Jason out of action, Alpha activates the Bandora protocol. Bandora is obviously a reference to the Japanese version of Rita, but it's also the name of Rita's moon palace, both in the Japanese and the American versions of the show, and still holds that name in this special. The Bandora protocol mentions locations where Rangers are based, which includes Terra Venture, the Astro Mega ship, Reefside, and even Osaka. When Rocky and Kat take on the new proxy coins, there's a repeat of Zordon's line from season 3 that too much pink energy is dangerous. However, Kat once again accepts, as she feels she needs to save the captured Rangers. After all, Kat should feel particularly connected to Tommy and Kimberly, as they were the reason why she became the Pink Ranger in the first place. And also, is Kat married to Tommy at this point? I'm not really sure where that fits in canonically here, if indeed she did marry him after all. But meanwhile, Min is training in a martial arts style similar to Trini's, as she plans to take on her mother's Morpher. But for now, we have a 4-ranger lineup that battles the resurrected forms of the Snizzard and Minotaur monsters, as well as the putties with their weird grey snood heads. Apparently someone on Twitter referred to these as the foreskin putties, and yeah, that's pretty accurate actually. There's a news report here from BuzzBlast, which is a reference to a media company in Power Rangers Dino Fury. This is a nice inclusion, but honestly I have no idea what's going on here because Min is watching it on her phone, but then there's also another phone frame in the footage. I can only assume that this is a mistake because it makes no sense whatsoever. It'd have to be the news report is being filmed on a phone, but the broadcast is another camera filming the phone from a few inches away in real time, while Min watches it live on her phone. Or they just used a cardboard cutout of the phone to help frame the shot and completely screwed it up, hoping that no one would notice or overthink it. Oh well. We also see that Bulk and Skull are back on Earth permanently and are in business together with a bulk order food company. And honestly, use your skull, buy in bulk is just an objectively brilliant tagline. The uncircumcised putties also attack Min in the juice bar, which has seemingly returned after we last saw it in Power Rangers in Space as the surf spot. This is also where Zack breaks out his hip-hop Kido, but a more subtle fighting Easter egg is Rocky nailing the move that supposedly got him injured in Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. It would have been nice if they'd included some sort of reference to Ernie here. Maybe the juice bar has been restored because his niece or nephew has taken over or something, but it's just back the way it was and we don't know why. For all we know, Ernie is still in the Amazon, and it's the juice bar again because shut up and stop overthinking it. In order to deal with the new metalized versions of the monsters, the Rangers initially use an electromagnet, which is a means to provide the most subtle of Easter eggs, which I would have never noticed, but it got pointed out during Watch Party and is unquestionably brilliant. You see, Kat took over the powers of the Pink Ranger from Kimberly, but was never really trusted with her Zord. So now, in Once and Always, Kat finally gets to operate the crane, only it's not the crane Zord, it's a literal crane. Genius. The Rangers save their captured friends, which I initially thought were the Lightning Collection toys, but they're not, even though the morphers used are the Legacy morphers, which makes sense because these are awesome. They morph and call on their weapons, and this bit is done really well because there's not an over-reliance on sparks when the weapons hit, so they actually seem like weapons. I mean, Billy just impales Robo Rita with his lance. And also, I think Kat's bow still says Zyuranger, but I can't quite tell. The Zords are then called to deal with Snizzard after Rita made him grow, and there's a little detail here that I really appreciated, but granted, I may be the only one. And that is that in the original show, they used the same footage of the Zords over and over again, which is fine, I get it, but it always annoyed me that the pterodactyl always hit the tree after coming out of the volcano. But in Once and Always, the tree is there, but the pterodactyl manages to finally miss it. I know that's a weird detail, but one I really popped for. When they reach the moon, though, the style of the Zords changes quite a lot. They become super shiny and really don't look that good, especially when combined into Megazord. But in some ways I feel this was done on purpose to look more like the CGI from the original 1995 movie, because initially they look quite good but then go way too shiny when fighting in space. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this because it actually feels like the weakest part of the film, but then it does also give me Ninja Megazord vs Ivan Ooze vibes. I'm sure they could have actually done better here though. After all, there's a guy I support on Patreon called Daijujin CGI who is capable of producing something at least on par with this full-on Netflix production. Another thing that I'm not quite sure about is that they use the power crystals to control the Zords, which is good, but the crystals still have the power coins attached, and the Rangers also have their power coins in their morphers. I'm pretty sure they're not meant to have two coins, especially after making such a big deal about duplicating them. The coins bring forth the crystals, but then after that they should return to the morphers. There's not two coins per Ranger. But while there are a couple of plot holes in this special, overall I have to say I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great tribute to the original series and moves on the original canon in a nice way, whilst also paying tribute to Tui Trang, but in a way that is different from how the comics treated it. Also, as a way of moving on from the horrible treatment that David Yost was subjected to simply for being gay, they do actually include a gay couple that Min saves in the Rad Bug. It does feel a little bit token, but I get it. Also, I'm sure there's probably an Easter egg to do with Min choosing which vehicle to take, but I'm not quite sure what it is. Unlike a lot of Power Rangers anniversaries, this is definitely aimed at an older audience. It's not to say that kids won't enjoy it, but it's clearly fan service for those that grew up with the original series, and they did a great job with it. It may be comparatively low budget, but I enjoyed this far more than the 2017 Power Rangers movie, and kind of wish there was more of this, as I would certainly watch a miniseries with these characters in this style. But let me know what you think. What did you like? What did you not like? Did you spot anything that I missed? Let me know down in the comments section, and I will see you all next time.